Welcome back to Down the Lineup. Today I'm here by myself as Sonny was unable to make it. But he still sent in his picks and his recap stuff, so we can get right into it. Um, last over the last week, uh, the Phillies they swept the Rangers, so not much of a series of the week. Phillies continue to take care of business. Rangers continue their slide. Um, yeah, Phillies lineup looks deadly right now. Once they get fully healthy, I mean, it looks hard to stop. They're finding guys getting production from throughout their lineup. And it's gonna be a dangerous team heading into the playoffs. The Mets, they lost their series to the Giants. They lost two out of three. The Mets were on a little bit of losing streak. They broke that yesterday. Um, so hopefully the Mets get back on track. But if the Mets want to contend this season, they're gonna have to turn it around and get it going. The Diamondbacks they lose two out of three to the Marlins. A surprise as this was Sonny's lock of the week. The Diamondbacks, they're in a fight for second place in the NL West. The Dodgers are also on a little bit of skid, so it's opened the door a little bit. But the Diamondbacks did not take advantage of a pretty light series against the Marlins. So yeah, tough series loss there. And then the Blue Jays, they took two out of three against the White Sox. So they took care of business. White Sox continue to be on track to be the worst team in MLB history, possibly. Blue Jays, getting back on track in a AL East that you're gonna have to get 90 to 100 wins to win that division, maybe even more. And Blue Jays, if they can get it together, they can fight for a wild card spot, get up to that 90 win range. The player of the week. So for me, I had Corey Seager. He had five homers, seven RBIs, a 350 batting average, and a 435 on base percentage. He even though the Phillies swept the Rangers in the weekday series, the Rangers, they took care of business took care of business in the weekend series. And I think Corey Seager, if the Rangers want to get back into the playoffs, they gotta have Corey Seager. Back rolling and back to his playoff form. Um, just to confirm, yeah, the Rangers took care of business against the Twins over the weekend. And then for Sonny, he had Bobby Witt Jr. with four homers, 11 RBIs, one stolen base, and a 385 batting average as his player of the week. Uh, this leads into my team of the week, which was the Royals. So I'll talk about them together. Bobby Witt had an amazing weekend as week and weekend as the Royals they swept the Tigers and they took two out of three against the Rays. They're back in the fight. They're 2.5 games back of Cleveland. In that AL Central, which has surprisingly been an amazing race. With the Guardians, the Royals, the Twins, and all of them being streaky, having like going on a hot streak, and then having a little bit of a couple of weeks where they've cooled down a little bit. And then for Sonny, he had the mentioned Cleveland Guardians as his team of the week. The Guardians went undefeated over the week, beating the Mets in a three-game set and the Angels. The Mets was a good series win, and then took care of business in the weekend against the Angels, who are on a free fall to the bottom of the division of the AL West. Um, yeah, just kind of diving into the AL Central a little bit. This division is absolutely packed. Each one of the teams is going on a crazy winning streak at some point or a crazy hot streak. Garden started the season off hot, slowed down a little bit, and then heated back up. The Royals, been a surprise team all year and continuing that hot stretch well into May and potentially into June. And then the Twins, they had this crazy winning streak when they had some lower tier teams in the White Sox and they took care of business. They got on that winning streak and put themselves in contention for playoffs and possibly in an AL Central division challenge. And then kind of the opposite of that, this AL West, every team is struggling. They're 2 games above 500, which are the Mariners, and then every other team is below 500. The Angels, they're 20 and 33, but they're only 8 games back, which, is a lot. But when you consider the White Sox are 15 and 40 and they're 21 and a half games back, it's just, staggering. The Marlins, they're 19 and 36, so one less win, three more losses, and they're staggering 19 games back. So the fact that the Angels are only, and I say only lightly, only 8 games back is kind of crazy. Um, the preview for the next week. For my series of the week, I got the Royals Twins. Um, like we mentioned before, it's going to be a battle for the AL Central and two teams who are in the hunt right now, battling it out. Divisional matchups are always intense, and I think this is going to be a good series. And whoever takes the series, I think, is going to take another step forward in contending for that AL Central title or for a wild card spot. If the Guardians continue to heat up, having divisional series wins is going to really help later down the line when you're contending for a playoff spot, a wild card spot, and you're going against each other. And then for Sonny's series of the week, he had the Diamondbacks Rangers. Not for the records per se, but for what happened last year, a World Series rematch, and then it being in Arlington, Diamondbacks coming in, seeing that the banners are hung, that's the banner that they could have had. Um, I think this is going to be a great series, just in terms of like reminiscing on last season. Both teams are under 500, haven't started the way they really wanted to, but I think this is going to be a great vibe series. Not much of a record series, I mean, the Rangers are still in the fight. The Diamondbacks are looking to bounce back, but I think this one's gonna be, where the Rangers bring out their gold unis, bring out the banner, flash the rings a little bit and just kind of flex a little bit on the team they beat in the World Series. Speaking of that series, Sonny's upset series of the week was the Diamondbacks upsetting Texas, and I think it's interesting, Diamondbacks going into Texas and they got a little extra fight, in an interleague matchups, you don't really get a lot of history, a lot of rivalry, but this one's pretty fresh, The World Series last year, a little revenge series for the Diamondbacks. I like it. I dig it. Texas hasn't been as hot as you'd think they would be. Both teams in a little bit of a World Series hangover. Um, and yeah, Sonny has that as his upset series of the week. And then for me, I got the A's over the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't know. This Tampa Bay Rays is hovering around 500. It's a team that has playoff expectations, but in a division that's pretty stacked, and Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay, one of those teams is gonna have to define themselves as the number three team. And I think Tampa Bay, they struggled. They've been hot. They've been up and down this year. And I think the A's are one of the teams, the young teams I really like to take any series. Any given series when you play against the A's, you're gonna have to fight. They're a young team. They got nothing to lose. I think this is one where they could take one over the Rays. I've taken the A's before in some series, and they have not paid off. But I hope this upset series, I hope the A's help me out here and take a series against the Rays. And then for our locks of the week, both of us have some World Series or bust teams. I got the Dodgers over the Rockies. Um, Dodgers on a 5-game skid, which is uncharacteristic of their team. Shohei is dealing with the hamstring injury. But I think Dodgers, they're gonna get back on track. They're a veteran team. They're not a super young team. They're a team that can figure it out. And I think a Rocky series is gonna be what the doctor ordered for the Dodgers to be back as the contenders. And then Sonny has the Yankees over the Angels. Yankees have been pretty hot. They split the series against the Mariners this week, and then they took 2 out of 3 in San Diego, where the offense, took over. Other than the last game. Both of these series, I think, are two weaker teams against two powerhouse teams. And it's just a quick, get me over a little lock of the week situation. On to some news for the week. The first bit of news has nothing to do with MLB, but we're on Spotify now. Down the lineup. So go ahead over there, check us out. Give us a follow, take a listen if you're trying to listen on Spotify instead of YouTube. And then some MLB news. Angel Hernandez calls it quits after 21 seasons or 23 seasons, I believe. Um, a name that a lot of baseball fans know, not for the right reason. Regarded as one of the lower tier umpires we got out there. But, I don't think this is a guy who a lot of teams or a lot of players and teams, I say, are gonna miss around the league. But, it's a familiar guy on the MLB world that's calling it quits. So no matter if you hated him a lot, kind of enjoyed his little missed calls, um, he's done. And then another player who's done this one for the season is Ronald Acuna. Unfortunately, he has a torn right ACL. This one the opposite of what he tore last time against the Marlins. And this is unfortunate. I mean, Acuna, these last 5 seasons, 2020 was a COVID year shortened. The 2021 is when he tore his ACL. The Braves wanted to win the World Series that year, but 2022 was, the rehab year. In football, a lot of doctors, a lot of coaches, a lot of guys who in the know medically, no, it takes a year to get your knee back, get that trust back, get that speed back. And 2022 was that year for Acuna. 2023, we saw he was back. He won MVP at a 40-70 season. And then this year, didn't start off the way he really wanted to. And then officially he's out for the season now with a torn ACL. We saw on Twitter he apologized to his fans, which is, hits home a little bit. He's an emotional player, and you do feel for the guy, if everything follows suit, what happens normally with other guys who've dealt with torn ACLs, it's gonna take another year to rehab and then a year to kind of get back accustomed. So it's possible 2026 is when Acuna gets back to being um his true form again. And I'm gonna look it up real quick, but that's gonna be Acuna's age 28 year. 2026 would be his age 28 season. And and as a guy who's 26 right now, 28, he might lose a step in speed, and power might still be there, but it's just tough to see a guy go down like this. The Braves as a whole felt a lot of injuries. Strider's out for the season. Sean Murphy hasn't played since opening day. Riley's dealt with injuries, and now Acuna. This is just another team that's being challenged a lot this year, and it's gonna be interesting to see. Phillies have established themselves as the best team in the NL East. Can the Braves catch up? Do the Braves have enough star power? And do the Braves make any moves? Chris Sale's emerged as one of the guys who's kind of stepped up in Strider's absence. Now you're gonna need some bats to step up, especially come playoff time, should they make the playoffs, which we all expect them to do. And looking back at the end of the year, it might be okay, if the Braves has Strider and Acuna healthy, what could have been season, which is tough for baseball because we know how good that offense can be when everyone's healthy. Um, On to the bulk of the episode. Since I'm by myself today, I decided to react to a Bleacher Report article. It's the power rankings of Bleacher Report. Just wanted to go take a look. We're heading into June, and I just want to see, what Bleacher Report thinks of the league as a whole right now, and just their quick thoughts on every team. So let's get into it. Number 30, they have the White Sox. Number 29, they have the Rockies, and number 28, they have the Angels. All three of these teams are bottom feeder teams that, aren't expected to be good. Potential trade deadline guys, Luis Robert, Mike Trout's injured, but there's some guys there. Uh, Tyler Anderson, Luis Rengifo could be guys who get moved this offseason. I don't know much to say about them. Just, be a lookout for what they do at the deadline. And for the White Sox specifically, what are they bottoming out at, and how many losses can a team accumulate in the year 2024? At 27, they have the New York Mets at 22 and 30. So the Mets fell this week, according to Bleacher Report. They had a 5 game losing streak that they broke on Sunday. But according to Bleacher Report, Pete Alonso, JD Martinez, Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, Adam Ottavino, and Jorge Lopez all could wind up on the trade block. Pete Alonso is interesting. He's in a contract year. Does a team go out and, spend, because the Mets are going to want a lot for Pete Alonso? Do they spend for a potential half a year rental? JD's on a short contract, so, does a team go out there and add a bat there? Severino and Manaea, both pitchers who, are are past their primes, I'd say. But a team could take a flyer. At 26, they have the Oakland Athletics. So they have a 17-17 record in May. But they're only 5-16 in their last 21. So they've slid a little bit after their hot little start. I don't think the Mets are not the Mets. I don't think the A's are going to be real deadline sellers. It's just they're a young team, and for the rest of the year, it's just gonna be a little fun team to watch and how much development can the guys get. Esteury Ruiz, Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker, a couple of those guys. If one of them can establish themselves, or more of them can establish themselves as MLB players, this this A's team might be solid sooner rather than later. At 25, they have the Miami Marlins. Um, the Marlins have bounced back a little bit. They're at 19 and 35. Interesting how the Marlins are ahead of the A's and the Mets, but it's a power rankings, and I guess the Marlins have looked a little bit better. Braxton Garrett, Jesus Luzardo, and Ryan Weathers have both had pretty quality starts over the last week. So that's what they have the reasoning as the Marlins being number 25 on the list. At number 24, they have the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have not posted a winning streak over 4 games this year. So um, Bleacher Report says they're going to be potential sellers at the deadline with Vladdy, Bobichette, and Jordan Romano all on their contract years. Um, Justin Turner, Yusei Kikuchi, Kevin Kiermaier, and Danny Jansen all could be guys who are moved who are on short-term contracts. I personally don't think the Blue Jays are going to be sellers. I think this team has a core. I think ownership should try to extend their little window. Even though they are 23 and 29, I think a hot streak will change the minds of a lot of Blue Jay fans. Um, Next up, we got the Washington Nationals. They're 23 and 28. Um, It says here they're not ready to contend yet, and I agree, but they have a lot of top prospects, like we mentioned on the podcast before. James Wood, Dylan Cruz, both guys who could come in and make a difference. James Wood specifically, I think he's batting 355 with 13 doubles, 9 homers, and 31 RBIs in AAA. So he might be coming on sooner rather than later. CJ Abrams will look good. We did a little feature on him last week. Um, yeah, this Nationals team, young team, fun team, but I wouldn't say they're contending. At 22, they have the Cincinnati Reds. Um, they have a little quote from David Bell saying, "It shows what we're capable of doing when we play well." And they're talking about a sweep against the Dodgers. I think this sweep over the Dodgers really gave hope to the Reds. Despite their 23 and 30 record, I think they're a team that has potential. They have the guys, they have the veteran leadership, you know, and I think if they get it clicking, they can make a run at a potential playoff spot in the NL. There's not a lot of high tier talent other than, the Braves, the Phillies, the Dodgers, and the Brewers. The Cubs and the Pirates and the Cardinals are all teams that you can, catch up to. And I think if the Reds get on a little run, they could be a surprise playoff team. At 21, they have the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks, they won a series against the Dodgers for the first time since 2018 in Dodger Stadium. And then they took a loss in the series against the Marlins, which you mentioned earlier. The Diamondbacks are confusing for me. I think they have that World Series hangover, which we've seen a lot of professional sports teams go through, but they show glimpses of hope. And yes, they made a World Series run last year while being the sixth seed, but you kind of hope for the Diamondbacks that they can get a little more security in the playoffs and not have to make a run as a sixth seed all on the road. Interesting to see what they do there. They have at 20 the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are 25 and 29. Skeens had a great start this week, 6 hits, 1 run in 6 innings, and then um, Jared Jones, had a great start himself. So the Hundo boys, they're showing out. But I think all around, the Pirates aren't there to contend yet. But like I said with the Reds, if they make a run, I wouldn't be surprised. It's not a very strong NL league, and I think a lot of teams have hope, especially those teams around 500. At 19, they have the Texas Rangers. They're 3 and 12 over the last 15 games with a minus 35 run differential. So that's staggering. Corey Seager's kind of been the only guy, their only offense. And then John Gray is going on the injured list, joining DeGrom, Scherzer, Evaldi, and Tyler Mahle. So, a lot of injuries for the Rangers. Not a lot of wins for the Rangers recently, and they're on a slide. And with the Astros kind of going up, trending up. It's gonna be interesting. You know, the Rangers gotta get it together soon, or they might be missing the playoffs, especially with the AL Central being a lot stronger than we thought. Speaking of the Astros at 18, that's who they have for number 18. Astros are 24 and 29. Over the week, they lost the series to the Angels, but they took 2 out of 3 against the Athletics. They're they're trending upwards. They're 5 games under 500, and Kyle Tucker has been amazing. He might be the AL frontrunner, despite the team not being as great. But it's gonna be interesting to see how the Astros take the trend if they can get a couple more weeks where they have positive weeks instead of losing a series against the Angels. The At 17 they have the Tampa Bay Rays who are 26 and 28. Looking at this, they have previously the Rays ranked eighth. So, they had two series road series wins against the Red Sox and Blue Jays, which catapulted them up to eight, but then they lost the series. They got swept by the Red Sox and they lost the series to the Royals. The bullpen has a 4.52 ERA this year, and they've blown 10 saves and 27 chances. So that's not keys to success. Large fall for the Rays, and I don't know. I feel like the Rays, like I mentioned earlier, they're a streaky team, and I think they're going to hover around 500. Randy Rosarena might be on the trading block. Isaac Paredes might be on the trading block. Couple of guys who might be heading to teams that need a bat. St. Louis Cardinals are next. They're 25 and 26, so they're almost at 500. They went 3-0 against the Orioles, and then they went 2-0 against the Cubs. So undefeated on the week. They were one of the teams I had in thought for the team of the week. I ultimately chose the Royals, but I think this is a team that's deserving. They swept one of the best teams in the AL, and then a little shortened sweep against the Cubs. Sonny Gray and Lance Lynn were unbelievable in both starts, and then Mason Wynn went 7 for 15 with four doubles and a homer. Mason Wynn's been a real big surprise, especially with a couple of the old guys struggling in Arenado and Goldschmidt. But Goldschmidt had a couple of homers in that Sunday game. Um, and I am very interested to see how this Cardinals team pans out because the old guys seem to be getting older. Are they going to bounce back? Are they not? I'm just going to be interested to see, do they sell or buy at the deadline, especially if they're going to be around 500. Like I mentioned earlier with a lot of the NL Central teams, it's not a very strong league. So I could see the Cardinals going both directions, either selling or buying. But Mason Wynn is a guy who's been a pleasant surprise, and I really hope they build off of him in the future years, especially with the old guys kind of, you know, falling out and potentially, losing a step. At 15 to start the top half, we have the Detroit Tigers who are 26 and 27. They got swept by the Royals and then they won a 4-game series against the Blue Jays. The Tigers were a surprise last year and now they're around 500. Tarik Skubal and Casey Mize have both been pretty good this year. Kenta Maeda has been disappointing. Jack Flaherty hasn't been that great, but the rotation as a whole has a 3.63 ERA. They're involved in the AL Central. It's been a crazy race that's been surprisingly good. This team needs some offense, and I do wonder if they do buy at the deadline. Because I don't see them selling. They don't have a lot of guys who I see potentially leaving. Um, yeah, I think Tigers might be buyers in the offseason just to make a run, but they're building towards the next few years. At 14, they have the Boston Red Sox, who are 27 and 26. They swept the Rays and then they lost a 3-game series against the Brewers. So the Red Sox, it says here they swept the Rays, red hot Rays team, and then they they're looking for answers offensively with Casas, Story, Yoshida all in the IL. The pitcher rotation, they've been great. 2 months into the season, I think this is a team that's amazing in pitching. I really hope they don't sell their pitching. Even though I'm a Yankees fan, seeing this great pitching from the Red Sox, especially because the Yankees haven't played the Red Sox, I'm interested to see how the Yankees do against these great pitchers because, they're gonna have to hit. And I think the Red Sox provide a good test for playoff teams like the Yankees, like the Orioles, interleague like the Dodgers, like the Phillies, just to see, how do you fare against good pitching and can your pitching shut down a lineup that's not very great, but could win a couple of series if they get hot at the right time. Um, so yeah, 14 for the Red Sox seems about right. They got the Cubs with the same record at 13. Um, the Cubs, it says the Cubs haven't won consecutive games since May 5th, but they got Nico Horner, Dansby, Swanson both back healthy. Um, yeah, so they mentioned former top prospect Brendan Davis, and just for the Cubs as a whole, they're in that NL Central that's all kind of bundled up. Um, I think the Cubs are a team that I could see buying at the deadline, especially for a couple of bats. They do have the pitching, Shota Imanaga, Javier Assad, both been pleasant surprises this year. And I do see the Cubs potentially getting a bat and potentially making a run for the postseason. Number 12, they have the San Diego Padres. They took 2 out of 3 against the Reds. They took 1 out of 3 against the Yankees, and they split a doubleheader on Monday against the Braves. So, Yu Darvish had a great start of the season, or a great middle part of the season. He was on a great run with no runs allowed. That unfortunately came to an end over the weekend. Dylan Cease had a great start. He started to look really good, getting back to that 2022 form, showing that 2023 was a fluke. And then Michael King, Matt Waldron kind of fitting into their own. Joe Musgrove kind of, finding his groove a little bit and getting back to being one of the better pitchers in the league. Arise has come in and gone on base. He has more multi-hit games than strikeouts, which is a stat I saw over the weekend, which is insane. And then unfortunately, Bogarts has a fractured shoulder, so he'll be out for a while. But getting a rise, it kind of lessened the blow a little bit. The Padres, if they want to make a run this postseason, they're gonna have to turn it around soon. But in the NL, there's plenty of spots open for teams to get into that playoffs. At 11, just outside the top 10, they have the Seattle Mariners at 28 and 26. They split a 4-game series against the Yankees, and then they lost the series against the Nationals. Um, this is a the division leading team, which, is very surprising. Their rotation is their strength, but has been a little inconsistent of late. And then their hitting has been very, very fluky, if that's the right word to say. First 2 games against the Yankees, they put up some runs, hit some homers. Dylan Moore got multi-homer game. And then over the next 4 games, they just couldn't put up runs. They relied a lot on the homers, and now Julio finally getting a 4 RBI game, putting up a breakout game potentially. If Julio can get it going and the Mariners can get their bats together, this team can make a run and run away with the AL West that's been very, very bad. At number 10, they have the San Francisco Giants, who are 27-27. That's interesting. I probably would have put the Padres over the Giants, but the Giants, they won their last 2 series against the Pirates and the Mets. So, I don't fault Bleacher Report for giving them the top 10 nod. They're 8-2 over their last 10. Matt Chapman has been pretty good. 2 doubles, 3 homers, 6 RBIs over the week. And, the rotation outside of Logan Webb and Jordan Hicks hasn't been great, but, as long as they stay hover around 500 and, remain open to making a run, I think the Giants could be buyers and get back into the playoff hunt. At number 9, they have the Minnesota Twins. They went 2-1 against Washington, and then they went 2-1 against Texas. They had a 7-game losing streak before getting it snapped by the Nationals, and then the Twins went to the weekend and took the series against Texas. I think, an AL Central where, every series matters, every win matters. I think this is the most uh fluctuating team out there. I think the Royals have found a little bit of consistency. I think the Guardians have been showing that they are a top tier team. And I think the Twins, they're the team that's like you can see them going on a large losing streak, but you can also see them going on a large winning streak. And as shown by the 7-game winning streak and 7-game losing streak this year, they're a very fluky team. But if they, get more of those winning streaks than losing streaks, I definitely do see the Twins heading back to the postseason. At number eight, they have the Atlanta Braves, which I think is pretty low. I think a lot of it is from the Acuna tear of his ACL. Um, and I do wonder, do the Braves go out and buy? Because last time Acuna tore his ACL, they did go out and buy for a couple of cheap outfielders, Jock Peterson, Adam Duvall, Jorge Soler, and Eddie Rosario, and it resulted in a ring. Um, they're faced with the same scenario now with Acuna being out for the season. If they buy, I do see them being a World Series contender, and if they don't, I think the Braves might be an early exit, but I do see them making the playoffs. I think the Braves are too good of a team, even without Acuna, even without Strider, to miss the playoffs. At number seven, they have the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers are the only NL Central team with a positive run differential, which is very interesting. They have a three-game lead over the Cubs in the division. I think the Brewers are the top of the NL Central. I do think they're going to be the team that runs away with it. I just think the Brewers are very well rounded offensively, and their pitching provides enough to where they can they can make a run at the division. I don't know about playoff success. It's very dependent on who's hot and how hot they are during a playoff run, but I think the playoffs wise, go ahead into playoffs wise, I think they're gonna eventually run away with that NL Central. At number six, they have the LA Dodgers. They were ranked number two before, but a 5-game losing streak, losing series to the Diamondbacks, and then getting swept by the Reds will do that to you. I think the Dodgers will turn around as my lock of the week, and I think the fact that the rest of the division is 500, hovering around 500, it gives assurance that the Dodgers are the NL West leaders, and I don't think the Dodgers need to make any moves. Ohtani is injured, but I don't think the Dodgers are really buying, and I don't think they've bought in the past during the deadline, as shown by the Trey Turner, Max Scherzer deals. But I think this is a team where you just make the postseason, and then you let the rest kind of handle itself. This is like a get to the postseason type of team, and you'll deal with your ups and downs, but eventually everything will get washed out if you have success in the playoffs, and then all the success in the regular season will get washed out if they fail again in the postseason. At number five, they have the Baltimore Orioles at 33 and 18. They got swept by the Cardinals, but then they swept the White Sox. So, tale of two halves of the week. Um, says here, outfielder Cedric Mullins is the only regular in the Orioles lineup who doesn't have an OPS plus of 100, and 100 being league average. So, they got a bunch of guys who are above league average in hitting. This lineup is very well rounded as well. They got lefty, righty guys who, put power. Gunner's been amazing this year at the leadoff spot. They've moved him to the fourth spot. Jordan Westbrook's been a great surprise. Colton Cowser's been a great rookie. Santander's provided power. Allen Rutschman's been a great hitter, one of the best catchers in the league. And I just think, this team's very dangerous. Once they get in the postseason, after the experience from last year, they can make a run. They can, explode at any point, and I wouldn't be surprised if they even won the World Series this year. At number four, they have the Kansas City Royals. My team of the week, and Bleacher Report, kind of has the same eyes as me. The ERA last year was 5.12, and this year they have a 2.97 ERA. So their pitching has been amazing. Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Brady Singer, all guys who, haven't been, guys who had that notorious, Cy Young type guys, but all three of them are having Cy Young type seasons. Seth Lugo, especially, transitioning from the Mets bullpen to now a starter with the Royals, has 9 quality starts. He's 8-1 with a 1.74 ERA. Um, and I do see the Royals potentially making a move in the offseason or in the trade deadline, sorry, and getting another bat. But I think, the Royals are a young team, and I would not be surprised if they don't break up the core and take the Orioles route and build the farm system and just try to make a dynasty, try to get back to those 20, early mid 2010s Royals that were fun to watch, with speedy, defense and pitching. At number three, they have the Cleveland Guardians, Sonny's team of the week. They went undefeated on the week, 3-0 against the Mets, and then 3-0 against the Angels. The Guardians are at the top of the AL Central. Like I said a lot during this, rant episode, AL Central has been an amazing division. They're going to provide a great race down the line, and the Guardians can kind of ruin that, if they go on a run, go on a huge winning streak, and create separation. The fluky Twins and then the young Royals could eventually fade out a little bit, and the Guardians could become that AL Central team and challenge for the 1 seed or 2 seed in the league. And I think the team is very power dependent. They go when Jose Ramirez goes, when Josh Naylor goes, but if when they are going, this is a hard team to beat. And, kind of in the playoff picture, if the Guardians get the 2 seed or 1 seed, it wouldn't surprise me, but I also don't think it would be the greatest thing because in playoff history, we've seen, getting the top seed doesn't equate to a lot of success. And this is a team where if they have an extended period of rest, they could potentially go cold from the bats. So I'm interested to see, if they get the top 2 seeds, how do they fare? Speaking of the top two, at number two, we have the New York Yankees. They split the series against the Mariners, and then they took the series against the Padres. Aaron Judge just kind of figured it out, and I think the Yankees, the top two with Juan Soto, Aaron Judge have been just amazing. They're figuring it out. They're they're becoming that power heavy team, the Bronx Bombers. And with Garrett Cole on the IL and DJ LeMahieu coming back soon, I think this team when they get fully healthy could make a huge run at 100 wins and beyond. And then finally, we got the Philadelphia Phillies. They're 38 and 16, undisputed best team in the league. They went 3-0 against Texas and then 1-2 against Colorado. Um, the series loss to the Rockies is interesting, but it says here Coors Field's never an easy place to play, and the Phillies, they might have to deal with the Coors effect a little bit and given up a few more runs than they expected. They did blow a lead. Once Trey Turner comes back, I expect this Phillies team to run away with the NL East with the injured Braves and a lot of mid to low teams in the Marlins, the Mets, and the Nationals. So that's about it. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll be back next week. Probably with Sunny. See ya.